How do you want to pay for your flight hours? Toilet paper. It's crazy right now what's going on with the coronavirus and everything that's happening, and the fact that this is even a meme blows my mind. Aviation memes, number 5, coming up. Hey 7-4 crew, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. My channel 7-4 Gear is all about aviation. Today, this is the view from my hotel room, and I'm hoping you're able to guess it because I've done several videos from this location. But go ahead and leave your guess in the comment below, and later on in this video, I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. When I did memes 4, I said I had enough to do memes 4 and 5. And with everything that's going on with COVID, I've gotten a ton of extra memes sent to my Instagram account. If you have a meme that you want me to react to, just send it to my Instagram account, @74gear. But until then, let's get into it. USC's 55% spike in alcohol sales as flight attendants actually have to start paying for it. So what's funny about this, and of course this is not legal or approved, and it's been going on since, I don't know, the 70s when my aunt was a flight attendant, is that flight attendants, when they would do first class service, there would be a lot of alcohol left over. And that leftover alcohol would be in those little mini bottles, and those mini bottles would sometimes end up falling into crew bags before they walked off the plane. That's obviously stealing, so you should never do that, but it does happen. In some cases, what happens is something called crew juice gets made. And of course, I've never participated in it, and it may or may not be in a future cockpit confessionals. But crew juice is basically one of the flight attendants makes a cocktail that goes into a water bottle. So this cocktail that's in the water bottle, once you get into the van, will magically appear from somebody's bag, and the entire crew drinks from it before they go out that night. Of course, that's not something you'd want to do during COVID, but you've already been interacting so close, I don't know if it would make a huge difference, but you guys all drink that juice by the time you get to the hotel. Everybody's usually pretty buzzed. You run up to your rooms and you change, and then you all go out, and then later on, if somebody tells me the story, it ends up somewhere on Cockpit Confessionals. It's me or the airplane clear prop. The clear prop thing, what that means is before you start the propeller of a plane, you yell clear prop just so that nobody around your prop is going to get hit by it. Obviously, it's not something you do in jets because there's guys that are looking at your engines before you start them. Basically, what it means is I'm going to pick the plane over the girlfriend. Is that the right decision? I don't know. If your plane is more important than her, maybe she's not the right girl for you. Well, that's odd. I could have sworn I was escorting 2 unaccompanied minors. Something that I've always done, I think a lot of pilots are notorious for it, is eating cookies. Especially at the regionals, you're doing so many flights, a lot of times you don't have a chance to eat a really healthy meal, or at least I didn't make it a priority with everything else that I had going on. And sometimes I'd come back to the plane after getting some paperwork or things like that up from the gate agent. I'd come back and there'd be a bag of cookies sitting there on my seat. And it just goes to show you, just taking care of your flight attendants, that you'll end up getting some of the really good snacks before they disappear. Because the really good snacks have a way of disappearing, sometimes before they even get to the passengers. So being nice to your flight attendants pays dividends. Sometimes it's only cookies, but still, if you love those cookies, it's really worth it. Wanted, one pilot must be trained navigator, engineer, computer technician, HR manager, communications officer, customer services operator, weather expert, and oh yeah, must be able to fly a plane. This is so true. You know, one of the things about being a pilot is really it's not that difficult of a job. Once you get through all your training and you kind of get into your groove of flying your airplane, it's really not difficult. But it's very true. There is a lot going on with that job that most people don't realize. You have to kind of be the go-between between the gate agents and the flight attendants, the passengers and the flight attendants, you and the other pilot. There's a lot that's going on, just that, on top of flying the plane and making sure that the whole operation is taken into consideration. There's a lot to being a pilot, but once you kind of find out a groove that works for you, it's really not that difficult of a job. And I know a lot of people right now that are pilots are starting to get a little bit nervous about what's going to happen with the economy and with COVID and the impact that's going to have. And I've been asked a lot about it, and it's very hard to say what exactly is going to happen. It kind of depends on how deep and how long people are left in quarantine. So maybe later on I'll talk about it, but as it is right now, we're talking about the memes and we're having a good time. So later on I'll talk about it, but it is very true. Right now a lot of you are worried, so don't think that I don't know and I haven't been thinking about you. Show me the money! Is it okay to use the bathroom now? One of the things is when you're a pilot and you put the fasten seatbelt sign on and people ignore you, we don't really know. The flight attendants see you, but they can't really stop you and force you to go to your seat. If the seatbelt sign is on and we hit a bunch of turbulence and you fly up and you get launched into the carts like what happened to this kid, well, that's kind of on you. If we didn't have the seatbelt sign on and then something happened, then that might not necessarily be your fault. So if you see the flight attendant sitting in their seat and they're strapped in, you don't want to get up. That is not the time to get up. And so that's kind of what's happening here. She's strapped into her seat and this guy's jumping up to, I don't know, go get snacks or go to the bathroom. So it's true. I know it annoys the flight attendants when people do that. And I, as a pilot, especially in uniform, I've had pilots forget to turn the seatbelt sign off. And I'm sitting there and I may have to go to the bathroom like, please hurry up and turn the seatbelt sign off. And mostly because I'm trying to set a good example. I usually have a pretty good idea just based off of how the plane is moving if there's going to be any turbulence. But, you know, if you're just a normal passenger that flies 2 or 3 times a year, you may not have that judgment or really know how to predict when it's going to get bad. So if the seatbelt sign is on, just stay in your seat. And if you're in your seat, and even if the seatbelt sign is off, leave your seatbelt on. When we go up to the flight deck after going to the bathroom or getting food, we buckle our safety belt. And the reality is it's not very likely that you're going to hit what's called clear air turbulence, but it can happen. I've seen guys get their heads cut because they slammed the overhead panel before, and it's not pretty. So just leave your seatbelt on and you don't have to worry about getting slammed into the ceiling. Me waiting for the flight attendant to stop complaining about the needy packs so I can ask them for a refill before takeoff. I love these little mini Yodas. They're so cool. Something that I always did is if I wanted something from the flight attendants, I would go back to the galley. A lot of you know that during boarding, I would kind of hang out at that front galley area, and I know some flight attendants don't like it, but I did it anyways because I like to see who is coming on board. I like for them to be able to see me. I think it puts them a little bit at ease, passengers at ease, when they see that the pilot's there and you don't look lost or confused. So I like to be there and greet them, and I also like to be there to help the flight attendant if somebody's mouthing off, especially if it's a delayed departure. Sometimes people get on the plane and they get a little bit mouthy to the flight attendant that's up there, and it's not the flight attendant's fault. So I like to be there because usually they're a lot less mouthy if a pilot's standing there because they respect the pilot more. And the truth is the flight attendants over the course of time have saved lots of lives in accidents, but people just seem to kind of treat them like waitresses. Really, the priority, the whole reason they're on there is to save your life in an emergency. So like I said, I try to treat the flight attendants really nice. If you want a cup of coffee, I'll go up and ask them, and I'll stand there at the galley, not stand there in the flight deck and wait for them to come to me. But I know a lot of pilots do that, and pilots are just as whiny as passengers are. So even though the flight attendants are whining to us about the whiny passengers and they have to deal with the whiny pilots, it's not really a good deal for them. Crew scheduling be like, you still coming in, right? Yeah, I've had it where there's been a horrible storm and it's like everything shut down and you call them and you're like, I can't get out and make it there. But the reality is it's easier for them to try to pressure you into getting to your plane than it is to re-coordinate and move everybody around to get somebody else to the plane. And a lot of times crew scheduling isn't in the location where your plane's at. So I've had it before where it's something like this, somebody's car's broken down and they're overheated on the side of the road, and the flight attendant will call me and say, my car's overheated on the side of the road, and crew scheduling says I have to be there, I'm going to get fired. Stuff like that, it happens. A lot of times they're just trying to press you to go and do it because it's easier than pulling reserve or rearranging all the schedules. It's just, you know, their whole thing is to move the metal, to get people there to move the metal. It's just kind of one of the push and pulls. It's kind of like the pilot-mechanic relationship. The pilots and the mechanics are always kind of fighting over fixing stuff and writing stuff in the logbook, and it's just kind of the ebb and the flow of the business. Cessna 76 uniform, traffic 12 o'clock, 1 mile southbound. Me looking for a tiny white dot somewhere in the sky. This is so real, and I know it just, you can't even believe, how can you not find a plane in the sky? I remember guys talking about this before I went to flight school, and I was like, yeah, how can you not find a plane? I have pretty good vision, but they'd say, I can't see the plane, I don't see the traffic, it'd be like 3 miles away. Then you get up there and you're thinking, how can I not see this plane? It's bizarre. The other thing that I've had done is air traffic control say, traffic opposite direction, 20 miles. I mean, I got good vision, but I don't have 20-mile vision. It'll fit. Oh my gosh, this is so true, especially for flight attendants that work on the regional aircraft, those smaller ERJs or CRJs. There'll be 2 on one side and 2 on the other, 2 in 1. If your flight attendant, if you're walking on the plane and your flight attendant says that bag's not going to fit, I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's not going to fit. they know exactly what's going to fit and not. So it's just easier. If they say it's not going to fit, leave it there and let it go inside the belly of the plane. It'll be up there when you get back. I know people freak out about it. Obviously, you have to take out the batteries and what other personal medication and stuff like that, because I've had people with medication where they put that underneath the plane and then we're getting ready for takeoff and then they freak out and I had to go all the way back to the gate, park, and then I actually got off, ran downstairs to find it because I think we were about to go home. It was like the last leg before we were going home and I wanted to obviously get home and be done. So I think I went down there and helped the baggage guys find the bag and ran the bag up. Is this your bag? Yeah. Okay, great. And then we left. It was kind of a mess. But if the flight attendant tells you it's not going to fit, it's not going to fit. And there's been so many times where people go, can I just try it? They're like, yeah, okay. And then they walk on the plane and it's clearly never going to make it. By the way, if you haven't figured it out, I'm in Los Angeles. I've been here a bunch lately. I've been doing actually turns in and out of Los Angeles. It's not very common, but I went to Tokyo and back. I went to San Francisco and back. I went to Anchorage and back. And I keep getting back here and having a day, which is giving me a chance to film. My whole schedule with the COVID thing has been totally twisted. I actually had a really cool overnight that I was supposed to do and I wanted to film from, but this is the life that I live. What gives people feeling of power? Money, status, a smooth landing. Oh my gosh, this is so true. I can tell you some of the smoothest landings I have. Even my first smooth landing, I can tell you what runway it was, and I was in flight school. It's one of those things that you feel so good about. We all know that we're judged on it by the passengers, and even when I'm flying cargo, we're judged by the other pilots. If you have a smooth landing, they're like, oh nice. If you have a hard landing, everyone's kind of quiet, like, we all know what happened here. So it's definitely something that we all aspire to do really well. And you know, when I'm flying cargo and we're in turbulence, we don't really slow down because it doesn't matter. When I'm flying with passengers, we do slow down. And I made a video about the turbulence and why pilots slow down in turbulence and things like that. But as far as the landing, no matter what you have, whether you're flying passengers or cargo, you want to make the smoothest landing possible because it's what we pride ourselves on. If you've ever wondered why your pilot has a really hard landing, I'll put a video to it right here. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.